be reunited in the colony that you built.
No one told us what happened to the ship. Whatever happened, it knocked us off course.
Where's the captain? Everybody that was in charge of running this ship is dead. It all falls to us now. We have some of the most brilliant engineers and scientists chosen to build a colony from scratch on an alien planet.
We're the furthest out anyone's ever been. Who could attack us?
I've got bad news.
There's only 4 days of water left.
Life support warning.
You and Dean had not met prior to the outpost. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, it was an interesting story. Dean will readily admit that he was not the biggest fan of the existence of Stargate SG-1 because he wanted to continue the movies, and it kept him from doing that. And he had, said some bad things about it in the press, and we never met for years, for 20 years or something after we started doing the show. And one day I get a call from my agent that Dean had read something of mine and wanted to meet. And I thought it was a joke at first, that he was punking me. And we got together and we hit it off like old friends. And it was, we actually were developing another show that unfortunately didn't go. And then we went forward with the Outpost.
And Dean, working with Jonathan has got to be a dream.
I've learned so much from Jonathan. Just to kind of piggyback the story that he just told is, I was literally sitting around one day thinking about, because I had said very negative things about the Stargate series, but I never watched a single episode. And finally, after it was a huge success for over 12 years, I thought, all right, Dean, you're just being stupid. Obviously, they're doing something right, or it wouldn't be on this long. And as soon as I met Jonathan, I understood why they had done something right, because he's a brilliant writer and a brilliant guy. And then, we worked together on the Outpost, and he really taught me a lot about serialized television. I'd never done serialized television. I'd only done episodic. And so the chance to work with him on this was really a chance for both of us to take all of our experience in science fiction, use every trick we'd ever learned, and to tell a longer, more slowly evolving story. It's literally one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in this business.
Jonathan, as a young man, as a kid, did you love the science fiction and
I did. I grew up as a kid watching the original Star Trek reruns. That was in the day when it was on like 5 days a week.
On every channel. On
every channel, yeah. and the Next Generation, and just loved both of them, and read a lot of science fiction. And then when I became a writer, my first job as a writer was doing cop shows. But then I ended up going into doing genre, horror and science fiction, and that's kind of what I've been doing ever since.
Dean, how about you? You grew up on science fiction and fantasy. Your mom was in a Star Trek episode.
That was really what started the whole thing. Is my mom came home from shooting. She was in the Wolf in the Fold episode of the original Star Trek, and she got the stunt guy to give one of the old broken down stunt phasers, to her, and she gave it to me. And that was, that was the crack that started my addiction. And then, shortly after that, Star Wars came out, and then Close Encounters, and next thing I know, that's all I want to do for the rest of my life.
Now, I have to apologize for something, Dean, and Jonathan, because when I heard about the Ark, I'm saying, oh, it's going to be a retread of Harlan Ellison's series, The Star Lost. And I saw clips of it, and I started to get really excited, and I'm totally wrong. This is such a great ensemble show. It reminds me, this could be theater. I mean, it is that well done, guys.
Well, thank you.
Dean, you directed the first episode. Were there a lot of challenges in that? I mean, you're using mostly practical sets, not a lot of CG, but some CG.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, the biggest challenge is that both Jonathan and I have very grand ideas on what we want to do. And then we sit down and go, okay, we don't have $200 million and 10 months to go make this. So how are we going to do this in 8 days on the budget we've got? But we also aren't guys who are really willing to curb that ambition. So, because I'm a director and because Jonathan's a director, we were able to reach into our bag of tricks and figure out every cheat we ever did to try and be able to tell a larger story with less resources. And that was the challenge, but it was also the fun. You mentioned that first 5 minutes. We had no idea if that was going to work. I mean, we actually had a backup plan that if we hated it, how to open the show without it. And it wasn't until we saw the first kind of presentation of it in editorial with the first effects on it that we thought, oh, this might work. But we went for it.
Jonathan, what do you think audiences are going to take away from the Ark?
I hope they're going to take away a little bit of, well, first of all, I hope they're entertained. That's always my first priority. But I hope they're going to take away a little lesson about humanity and about, it's sort of the struggle between each man for himself versus we're all in this together. And that's sort of the constant battle throughout the series is back and forth in that sort of human thing that we all have. And so it ends up, I hope we sort of have a good message by the end of it.
It is the same boat that we're all in.
Yeah.
Dean, before I go, congratulations on Leverage, the season finale of Leverage Redemption. And hopefully there'll be a season 3 because I'm coming out to New Orleans to visit you. And one of my good friends, Ryan Little, just interviewed your wife.
Ryan was the DP of a movie of the week we did with my wife called Blank Slate, and he was amazing on it. That was before he was, oh no, I guess he had already directed, but this is before he became the big director he is today. Yeah,
he's a dear friend. So again, congratulations on the Ark, gentlemen. It is such a edge of your seat show, but so human, so wonderfully entrenched in our conditions that we have today in this day and age.
Well, thank you.
As a single mom, I want to make sure my kids have healthy teeth. Going to the dentist can be expensive. Just a simple cleaning can cost over $100. Then I found TDA, and for about $1 a day, Total Dental Administrators covers my family on over 200 dental procedures. Whether you're an individual, a family, self-employed, or retired, your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these policies. Call or click for your free information kit and see how affordable dental health can be.
Christy, tell me a little bit about Sharon and what she's a lieutenant. She's a military person.
Yeah, so she's the low-level ranking lieutenant who's just been placed on this ship last minute for reasons that we then find out later. She's tough, she's impulsive, she's burdened by her past, present, and future, and doesn't want to be the leader or, the person that's kind of delegating, but knows that she's the only one that can really do that. And that's her.
Wow. And Richard, man, I saw you in R.I.P.D., number 2, and wow, you are an action star. And is there a lot of physicality in this role?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, There is. I actually, it's funny you should say that. I'm actually booked in to get acupuncture on my shoulder tomorrow from an injury I got on that film. But yeah, there's a lot. And what's amazing is because Reese and Christy are so game, everybody's doing their own stunts in this, man. And like Christy's whooping ass, and Reese is over there like taking on 12 men running down a corridor, and it's a full-on thing, you know. And it's always great fun, but we get to see each other's fight bits and occasionally get to do some stuff together. It's full-on action-packed stuff, yeah.
Reese, man, I mean, this is a great role too, because you have a bit of layers to your character. Talk to me about Spencer and how he connects with his fellow military people.
Yeah, I think what's great about what Jonathan and Dean have done is every character has these kind of layers, but they get peeled back in various different ways. With him, he's just doing what he thinks is best at any given moment, which is probably true of all of the characters. Maybe he's in doubt, maybe he's nervous at the beginning that he's not confident that perhaps the people who are calling the shots at any given moment, darn it, is calling the right ones, and he's quite vocal. He doesn't kind of hide what he's thinking. He's quite perhaps too vocal at times about what he's thinking. But yeah, I think he just wants everybody to live, and that's the way he feels like is the best way to deal with it. Sometimes it's questionable, sometimes it isn't. He was a lot of fun to play, and you know there are some scenes there between Spencer and Garnet where you actually have a lot of warmth, they have a lot of love between them. And we were speaking earlier about this sibling dynamic, which I think is such a good template to kind of place on these characters, because it's a blood thicker than water kind of vibe between all three of them, and things get forgiven and forgotten fairly quickly, because they all have one common objective, and that's to keep everybody alive. But we very much felt like the parents that were arguing behind closed doors and then coming back out to the rest of the crew. So it's just a lot of fun to play. You know, it's almost Shakespearean.
It truly is. Richard, you love the humor that it's there that flows through the series.
Yeah, it's a gift. You know, I mean, a wisecracking sort of bravado Scott. It's always fun, and then he was very often gifted some kind of quite nice. Slightly cynical, slightly sarcastic lines to finish off a scene in an inappropriate moment. So it was very, very fun to play. Yeah.
Christy, are you learning? I mean, every scene is an education. When you're amongst a cast like this, and with a Dean Devlin and a Jonathan Glasner. What do you learn on a daily basis?
Oh man, a lot. I mean, definitely learn an immense amount from those two gentlemen right there, those two dudes. Like Reese taught me how to be really technical, how to just technical stuff that I think how to make sure the camera captures what it is I'm doing, because I was so used to being on shows like Maid or Billy the Kid, which was kind of shot very we'll get it, don't worry, you just focus on what you're doing. And I think this required more technical aspects to it, and Reese really taught me a lot about that. And then Richard is, like you said before, is so funny and is so effortless at delivering these like comical lines, and I'm just not a funny actor at all. I'm not a comedian or anyone who's good at delivering. I like butcher comedy, so it was so
but that's funny too sometimes.
Yeah.
I try to be funny. I try to be funny.
I think you're funny.
People are like, what is she doing?
I tell you what I would say, which I really took away from this, was our friendship as actors was forged in the fires very early on. We knew what we had set out before us, a little bit like our characters, and we became a bit of a tripod throughout this. We really learned on various times, a little bit like a life imitating art. We all lent on one another at various times throughout this. It's a long stint to be away filming, 4.5, 5 months. And when you can look around to your right and your left and see these guys like relentlessly coming in, knowing insane amount of dialogue, doing insane amount of scenes in a day, it makes you very proud. It makes you want to up your game. So it was.
Sometimes it was just bringing in an iced latte, right? Unasked. You know,
Sometimes
we,
it's all that
I
goes
would have
wrong,
like
and that's it.
we were running on
I
ice
think-
latte for the whole 4.5 months.
I think too, like we did shoot a lot of this like a play, and I had never done that before, and I loved it. I didn't think I was gonna love it, but there was something about doing like all of Act 5 as a oneer, you know, which I loved. Like I think I learned how to like bring it each take, or how to make each take feel exciting and fresh and new, even though you'd had been doing it for like 16 hours saying the same, you know, technical scientific information, you know. I think that was something I also really learned.
This portion of Screen Chatter is presented by VP Dental. Check out our great dental plans starting at just $16 per month. Tell me a little bit about your character, Alicia. What is she all about, Stacy?
Alicia, she's just fantastic. I love her so much. She's highly intelligent, and you know, I'd probably say when she heard about the ARC program, she knew what it would mean for herself, you know, to have this like one-time opportunity in life to like, you know, meet all her mentors that she, you know, loves, but also it's like a chance for her to bring her family along to this new planet once they've built it up. So that was a very big driving force for her. She's sunshine. She's always optimistic. She's always trying to find a way to help people, and she's always just, you know, being their friend. She wants to make friends.
Oh, nice. Ryan, Angus, talk to me about him a little bit. And also, you've got such a great cast here. Are you guys all friends and buddies now?
Yeah, for sure. We feel like this cast is like a huge family, you know, like, because I mean the show is so ensemble based. Like there's just a lot of scenes where everyone's together, everyone's bouncing off each other. So yeah, we really do feel like it's like one big family, which is really, really cool. But yeah, Angus, he's a young farmer. Specializes in horticulture. He's been given the opportunity of a lifetime to work with his idol on the Ark and to grow crops on this new planet. Doesn't really go to plan, but yeah, he's just been like thrusted into this like whole new way of living, a whole new world. And he's obviously super naive, super like confused, doesn't really want to be there, doesn't want to have to deal with all these like grown up things. Not that, you know, surviving life and death every day is like a grown up thing, but like it's completely different to him living on Earth, you know. Like
it's
yeah,
just like high school. Just like high school.
Oh yeah. So similar difficulty to high school.
Stacy, talk to me a little bit about the sets, because the sets are a character in this as well. Are they mostly practical, or is there a lot of CG?
Honestly, it was mostly practical. So it was inside a big studio, and they literally just built all the rooms like that you see in the Ark and all the hallways. And I thought it felt really great to be acting in them because you could just properly interact. You could see where everything was. I'd probably say most of the CG was like, you know, the space stuff, or like, you know, when we'd have to do certain things. But yeah, it was very practical. I really liked the hallways as well, because if you're doing a fast-paced scene, you can actually walk down them.
Ryan, talk to me about the first day on the set when you walked in. What was that like for you?
Oh my goodness. Well, the first day on set, I think everyone was the opening of episode 1, where everything goes wrong, and like it was really cool because obviously everyone was there, and we like, you know, we were able to experience that first day with everyone. But yeah, seeing the set for the first time, like, yeah, it's essentially just all practical. Like the ship, it's all there. The only like, you know, CG stuff, like Stacey said, is, you know, just the outdoor bit, you know, when it's just like when you see going on the spacewalks and stuff like that. So yeah, and like I'm a big like sci-fi guy anyway. Like I love Star Wars, I love all that stuff. So being able to walk around a spaceship like in real life, like was sick. Like it was so cool.
And Stacey, working with Dean Devlin, you know, I've known Dean for a long time, and he's a mad scientist. He's a genius. But how is he as a director for you?
I really loved, because he directed the first episode, and because, you know, I've never done anything on this kind of scale, so having Dean there for the first episode was just the best thing because he understood the characters, he knew where the show needed to go, but also he kind of understood that, you know, this was new for me, and he was really lovely to work with.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. This is a serious problem, but one we can solve. Visit feedingamerica.org to help. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're feeding America.